Have you ever thought about what it means to set healthy boundaries in your life and in your relationship? Boundaries are one of these amazing self care, self preservation tools that really does allow us to love ourselves and other people well and to the best of our ability so that we're not depleting ourselves and trying to give to others from what we don't have in our own emotional reserves. When we talk about boundaries, one of the things I want you to think about is my fence analogy. We've basically got three different examples of how boundaries are and aren't helpful to what you may need. So as I go through these examples, I just want you to be thinking about what boundaries do you set in your life and where do they fall in this sort of spectrum of things I'm about to present to you. So first we have the idea of a chain link fence, right? It's those little like crossed up chain links, and there's a lot of holes and there's a lot of, ability for people to see through. It may keep a small dog in the backyard, but in terms of a lot of privacy, it may not offer very much. In fact, it might feel like you're very exposed, or there's not actually, a distance between you and other people, or you and the surroundings that kind of are right outside that fence. Okay, now on the other end of that spectrum, we would have a 10-foot concrete wall and a moat that's built around you or around your home. It might offer a lot of protection. It may keep everything out, but it also keeps you very closed off. There's a whole process to be able to go from inside your home to out there into the world to interact with other people. So what I want you to think about is that maybe neither of these extremes is the gold standard. What I would rather you figure out is how do you build and construct an 8-foot privacy fence with a locking gate that you control. You decide what comes in, you decide what goes out. You have the freedom and the flexibility to set the boundaries around what is or isn't good for you and your life. Now, as you think about these boundaries from a personal perspective, I also want you to imagine how you would also then set healthy boundaries around yourself emotionally within your relationship. There are 7 basic types of boundaries that you want to keep in mind. We have intellectual, emotional, physical, sexual, money, material, and time boundaries. Now, sometimes the money and the material boundaries overlap, but I do feel like they are important to talk about individually. And then when you look at the intellectual, the emotional, and the physical, all of those boundaries are wrapped up into the sexual boundaries, but the sexual boundaries are a separate thing that also requires some attention. Now, from a relationship perspective, you may be a bit overwhelmed going, wait, how do we learn how to apply these different boundaries? How do they apply differently from, out in the world with other people versus our romantic relationship? And I just want you to take a deep breath and know that we are going to spend some time really digging into each of these 7 types of boundaries. And I'm going to give you some actionable information to think about in how to know when the boundaries are being violated, what does that look like from a relationship perspective, and how to start communicating about what your boundaries are so that you aren't feeling depleted, that you don't feel like resentment starts to take over, and you don't have this overwhelming, encompassing feeling that things are maybe not going the way you want them to in your relationship. So today is really just about that introduction. Go back and listen again to the fence analogy and give yourself permission to sort of think through how that shows up for you. In the description of this video, I have also included a link to my relationship communication guide, which digs into even deeper levels of healthy communication that you can start implementing in your relationship right away. And over the next coming weeks, we're going to go through each of these boundaries individually and really get a firm understanding of how they show up, what they mean for you individually, as well as from a relationship perspective. I hope you will keep tuning in for those because I want to bring all of it to you, and you're always welcome to ask questions because I want to make sure I answer those and give you the actionable information that you need.